one thing I'd like to point out about the Nordic model as far as dealing with sex work or prostitution, the model that calls for arresting the customer, the sex buyer, but not the sex seller, is that it is obviously based on the whole premise of the cliche that it's a man's world. Or to put it in a more sophisticated term, it is a patriarchy. Because generally speaking, we tend to give heavier penalties we tend to arrest both parties in a illegal exchange, but we give heavier penalties for the person who makes the financial profit. A good example are illegal drugs. The penalties for dealing drugs tend to be much harsher than the penalties for possessing drugs. Now, another example where things are kind of flipped around would be abortion. In that case, the market for it, in that case, you ask people who believe abortion, like I saw this guy who represented the National Right to Life League, and the interviewer asked him, if abortion is again made illegal, who do you think should be prosecuted? And he replied, the abortionist. The woman is to some degree the victim. Okay. Now, I don't disagree with that, but because obviously you have to be pretty desperate to, seek an illegal abortion. But in that case, we're prosecuting, you're prosecuting the person who makes the money off of it, and not the person who seeks the service, even though the women are the ones who create the market for the abortion service. They usually seek out the abortionist, but it would be, under most laws against abortion, it would be the abortionist, not the girl or woman, who would be prosecuted. And then again, in the Nordic model, as far as prostitution, is completely flipped around, and the woman who may seek it out, it could be sought out by the customer, it could be sought out by the prostitute, but the woman who makes the profit is not prosecuted, but the man who seeks the service is prosecuted. So, again, it is based on the idea that it's a man's world. And, I'm not saying the perceptions are necessarily wrong, but it is also based on what might be a factual perception that, to some degree, because of biology, women are to some degree the victims of sexuality. Women quite literally bear the cost of sexuality. And therefore, in the case of prostitution, you would prosecute the man, the sex buyer, even if he was approached by the sex seller, even if she was the person who put it in his mind to want to buy the service. You would not prosecute the sex seller who made the profit from it. Whereas, again, with an abortion, you would prosecute the person who made the profit, even though it was the woman or girl who went to that person. It could be a man or a woman, but they're easily easily either sex, and made the profit. But it was the, in that case, you let the market go free and prosecute the person who supplied the service. Okay, which is exactly flipped over. Does that make sense? Well, yes, it does.